This is our Hidden Killers half year in review with True Crime Today. A look back at some of the most compelling conversations about the biggest cases we're following for you right here over the last 6 months and first half of 2024. Here's another one of those conversations.
This is the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski,
featuring retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer.
Hopefully, some closure can be found for the family of Gabby Petitto as they've now settled the lawsuit against the Laundrie family, saying, quote, after a long day of mediation, a confidential resolution has been reached between the parents of Gabby Petitto, the parents of Bryan Laundrie, and attorney Stephen Bertolino, to which all parties reluctantly agreed in order to avoid further legal expenses and prolonged personal conflict. Our hope is to close this chapter of our lives to allow us to move on and continue to honor the legacy of our beautiful daughter, Gabby. Joining me to discuss, Jennifer Coffindaffer, retired FBI Special Agent. Were you surprised that we came this close to the civil trial, supposed to be starting in May, just a few short months away, and a settlement now finally reached after a lot of litigation?
Well, I think a couple of things here. First of all, the Laundries and obviously Bertolino, they have been trying to get out of this since day one, trying to settle very early on. And I'm sure posing all sorts of, money and anything else they could to try to get this to not go forward. The Petittos and the Schmidts stood strong and said, no, we're going to keep going down the road. Why? Because they wanted answers. I don't believe this ever was about money. Mm-hmm. I still doubt that they even received very much money, but certainly they wanted their lawyers' expenses covered. So I think this was about truth. Mm-hmm. This was about having the Laundries and Bertolino shown for the really shysters and liars they were during this process. And that was really accomplished, Tony. For anybody who really was reading the court documents mm-hmm. and watching, the admissions they made, and the big one, of course, was that they knew Gabby was dead mm-hmm. very early on when they were lying. Well, not they, Bertolino was lying mm-hmm. and saying, oh, we don't know. So I think they accomplished their goal. And when I look at the picture of Gabby's mom from the press conferences early on, where they didn't know what happened. Gosh, Tony, just take a look at those pictures. It is unbelievable, the pain, the sorrow, the despair on her face. And I think she's been carrying that with her now all these years. And it's time for her to truly be able to some degree, put that behind her. Yeah. And she has truth now, and I'm hoping that helps.
It seems, and I completely agree, I don't think any of this was ever about money. And number one, I don't think the Laundries really had a whole lot to give. But number two, it was more about just accepting responsibility for one's actions and the hell that they continued to unnecessarily put the Petitto family through. It was more about the journey than it was about the actual end to it, about the place where they got, because we never got to trial. But through that journey is how we learned about all these things, through discovery, through the petitions, through all the filings that were made. Had we not been going down that road, many of these things probably would have just been swept under the rug, never really coming to light. So I agree. I think a lot of it finally has come to the forefront. The details of the settlement are confidential. Do you think there was any money exchanged here other than just attorney's fees? Was it more about behind closed doors? Look, you guys have admitted to us what you knew, and you're wrong in this, and that was what the Petittos were ultimately searching for.
I think there was money exchanged. I would expect, not only for attorney's fees, but their pain and suffering. And I believe Bertolino probably has a chunk of money, and And we know the Laundries, had a business. They were living in a nice part of Florida. Yes, they were living modestly, but that doesn't mean they didn't have any money squirreled away. And I hope they got every dime they could out of them, just so that it hurt a little bit in the pocketbook. But certainly in the court of public opinion, I don't think anybody can say the Laundrie name or the Bertolino name without just having disdain. I want to drive this home a little bit, Tony. So when we learned that the Laundries knew early on, and obviously Bertolino knew, do you recall what they did? They had s'mores and lemonade by a campfire.
Yes.
Like they were all almost celebrating at a park. And we know now that was after they well knew. And I think one only has to put that thought process in your mind, that this was their reaction. So cold and callous. And that's how I'll always think of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's even beyond, it's like just not living in reality is what that is. It's hard to fathom, but that is what they did. It's been a shocking case all around. I hope for the family of Gabby now that they are able to have some closure, let this settle down a little bit, and be able to move on with their life and remember Gabby the way that they want to without the constant litigation. So probably best for all.
At CrimeCon, fortunately, I got to spend a lot of quality time with Gabby's mom, and had a great conversation with her. And she shared that she really, really wants to help find missing people. She wants to continue her advocacy for domestic violence and domestic abuse. And I think this will free her up, at least to some degree, that she'll be able to really do this. This is what she really cares about. And it opened up a whole new window of really opportunity for service for her for the first time. And what's interesting is this case, for so many of us, really changed our trajectory. I can tell you 1,000%, I would never be advocating on Twitter, never had done a Twitter post in my life before the Gabby Petitto case. This case, even though it's so tragic, I think really changed a lot of people and brought awareness to the missing like has never been done before. News Nation focuses on the missing to this day. Marnie Hughes has a whole show just about missing, and other networks have too. And would that have happened without Gabby Petitto? I don't know.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial-free.
So you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.